The first part is allowing you to just wake up and uncover what is holding you back. The second part is allowing you to make powerful new choices about what you focus on, because your perception is your own reality. The third section in the book is allowing you to just smarten up about money, and it shares not only Jen's strategies on how she became a multimillionaire, but how others in her community have made major changes. The fourth is telling you how to get started. The Anyas Podcast is to inspire you and other women to reach new business heights. We are showing the human side to business and breaking the myth of overnight success. The Anyas encourages breaking barriers, fostering collaboration, and daring to dream big.
The community acts as a catalyst for personal and professional growth, providing a space where women thrive, innovate, and come to celebrate their achievements together.
Step into this inspiring new world with us and unlock limitless potential. Welcome, Monica, and welcome everyone listening. The Anyas are back. I'm Lindsay Jew, and I am joined by Monica, and we are just excited. This is our first book club for season 2. You are a badass at making money. What an exciting and riveting title. I just had to choose this book along with Monica. Both of us were really excited for this. I first heard about this from Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness podcast, and he was interviewing Jen, and she talked about her journey from garage to multimillionaire and #1 New York Times bestseller author. That's the book we'll be diving in, but let's just take a step back now and reflect on season 1, as well as what we're excited to jump into for season 2. Monica, are there some thoughts and some feelings that you have as we're ramping up for season 2, and what it's well on its way by the time this is released?
It's so incredible to be on this journey and just to see us making those baby steps every day and seeing us evolve. I feel also personally I've made quite the journey from the first few episodes where I was really quite nervous about, getting on camera and telling my truth. While, for this season, I feel like it's a lot easier. So I'm excited to dive deeper into what will come out and what we will learn all together from these books and these sessions with all these amazing ladies that we have lined up.
Yes, we continue to be focused on female founders and women who are interested in learning and growing their own businesses. For the podcast, we have reached a milestone of having over 2,000 downloads. So thank you to all the Anyas out there that have been listening and sharing the podcast with your friends and other female founders and entrepreneurs that can learn and grow from our podcast. Thank you all so much. And we have been...
I'm so grateful.
That is a theme that you ladies will hear more about as we dive into the book as well. But we have some really amazing books. We're going to be diving into Web3 this season, even at a deeper level than we did in season 1. Monica has designed a very impactful Web3 workshop, so stay tuned for details on that. Crypto has made quite a boom and reached an all-time high. And so there's just so much energy that's flowing and so many things that we have planned. We just can't wait. And we wish there were more hours in a day to share this information and knowledge with you all. So more on this book. It's really about your relationship with money. And Jen Sincero, the author, she illuminates hidden messages that we're telling ourselves and we're telling others. And really, this book is about removing those blocks that you have and those hindrances and allowing money to just pour forth or rain all over you. And so I am excited to just dive in. Let's maybe talk about some of the sections that are in this book. The first part is allowing you to just wake up and uncover what is holding you back. The second part is allowing you to make powerful new choices about what you focus on, because your perception is your own reality. So we'll dive into that more, but an example is that, let's say you take 5 people that witness the same event. Each person can describe the same event in a different way. So each of those 5 people have different realities. The third section in the book is allowing you to just smarten up about money, and it shares not only Jen's strategies on how she became a multimillionaire, but how others in her community have made major changes. And the fourth is telling you how to get started. I mean, there's so many takeaways. You're going to uncover what's holding you back from making money. You are going to give your doubts, your fears, your excuses, the heave-ho, and you're also going to shape your reality. So this means stop playing victim to your circumstance and be as wealthy as you truly want to be. I really like this quote from Pop Sugar, so I'm going to read that. This book truly crystallizes the concept that financial abundance is an inside job, in that all begins with your mindset, and Sincero gets serious in the funniest ways possible about helping you identify your particular limiting beliefs around money. Before I go into the bio, Monica, is there anything else that you want to discuss as the overview or the different sections that were shared?
Yeah, I just loved how fun this book is to read, and that she also brings in humor and everything. I like the fact that she has so many different example of people that really gone from horrible situation, and she always says, if she can do it, you can do it, or if I did it, you can do it. And I love that, to see that it's actually attainable, no matter where you're coming from. Of course, for some people, it will be a little bit harder depending on where your starting point is. But hers was rock bottom. She was literally sleeping like on a futon in a little 1-bedroom apartment that, was cold. And yeah, she couldn't even have money to buy gifts to people or take her pet to the hospital, and she just decided one day she wanted to change it, and she really did this amazing transformation. And yeah, seems like she's rocking it right now. And I just love how fun it is to read this book. And it's not about what I assumed, like it was about like accounting or something, but it's really how to shift your mindset into something completely different from what you have been taught.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're unlearning all of the bad things that you've learned about money.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also about getting out of your comfort zone. I love how she really emphasizes that if you want to develop, if you want to become rich, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and be okay with that. And yeah, I think I've done that the last year now. So, but I'm getting more comfortable with the uncomfortableness of things.
Mm-hmm. Living in a foreign country will do that. Getting uncomfortable or getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. So a bit about Jen Sincero and her background. She, as I said earlier, is the #1 New York Times bestselling author, a speaker, and success coach. She has spoken at stages all over the world, and she helps people build their dream businesses and themselves also become New York Times bestselling authors. So this book isn't just about a formula saying that you have to do things the way that Jen Sincero did. This is really allowing you to unleash your own power and be a badass at making money. And, I wanted to dive into why or who this book is for, but I guess I want to stop and be transparent about some of the reviews that are out there, because money is a very emotional and controversial topic for many. So when I was looking at Amazon and the reviews, because I'm someone who likes to read some of the reviews before I read a book, over 90% of the people highly enjoy this book. But there are some people that will call this book dangerous. And I really had to think about what that meant as I was reading the book. And I said, why do people think this book is dangerous? Because they're seeing their reality is different than my reality. And the analogy of driving came to me. So driving can be extremely dangerous, but that doesn't mean do not drive anyone. So someone who is, let's take a race car driver, for example, is going to drive a certain way. And I would never attempt to drive like a race car driver because I don't have that mindset. I don't have those skills. And I just don't have that mentality. Right. And, but them driving that way, that's their profession and they do it every day. Let's take someone who's blind, for example. I would never encourage them to get behind the wheel of a car. So I feel like that's this book. This book is, I think, going to be great for 90% of the people that feel called to this. And then there's going to be a small percentage of people that this book is not for them. And this is not a philosophy that they need to be adopting in their lives. And I also want to say, with any approach or any decision that you're making, think about how this impacts your own life. Read the fine print and the warning labels, because Jen does lay out warning labels throughout this. She's not telling everyone to quit their daytime jobs, but she is telling you how she did it and how she has seen other people do it. So it is information. Take from it what you will. Before I guess I dive into who should read this, that was something that I wanted to address, because I really thought about that when I read the reviews. And I know there's probably other people in the book club who will read the reviews first before reading the book.
Yes, because she does say to take risks, right? She says, if you don't take a risk, you were never going to get there. So maybe that's what people have a problem with. But she does do disclosure. She says, like, don't take on risks if it doesn't feel right for you. Don't take on debt. She says that's like the last resource as well. So I think a lot of people might be a little wary about this kind of law of attraction that she's also talking about. Although I'm a big fan of positive thinking, and my belief is that if you don't believe it, it's just not going to happen. You have to be the first person to believe that something is possible for something to actually occur. So maybe that's what people might have a little bit of a hard time resonating with, that she's very like manifestation and basically talking about the ways you can kind of upgrade your mind into believing that you deserve it, because if you don't believe you deserve it, it's also not going to happen.
Right. And people who are listening to this podcast, they're probably going to be one of those people who are called forth to read a book like this, because you're someone who knows there's more out there for you. There's something missing in your life and you're not sure what it is or why you're being blocked from earning the money that you know that you deserve. So those are the people that I believe are going to be called forth to read a book like this and have so much to gain from this particular book. Let's dive into first impressions. Monica, do you want to go first with your impressions and what you thought when you picked up this book?
I really loved her humor in it. So that was my first impression, like, oh, it's actually fun to read this book, because I assumed it was going to be like a little bit dry, because money, that was my personal, I guess, picture of money, that anything to do with something that will help me with it is going to be like a chore. But it didn't end up being that at all. And yeah, I think I've also reached a bit of a plateau in my life, and I wanted to see where my blind spots were. And it definitely shed light on some of these issues that I've had. And I thought I was good with money, but yeah, I learned a lot from this book. So first impressions, just, yeah, pleasantly surprised how fun it is to go through it.
Yeah, so juicy. I can't wait to dive into some of these exercises. But yeah, for me, I've always been interested in psychology. That's why I majored in psychology in university. And the psychology of money is very interesting, very complex, controversial for sure. And for me, money hasn't ever been my number one motivator. People pleasing, that has definitely been a motivator for me for many years. And also seeking where I'm meant to be, that's a big motivator. So I do think that this book addresses a lot of that, because this book is insane. Chase money, which you might think from the title, but it is way, way more than that. It unveils areas and beliefs that you didn't know that you had, and that were hiding. Like you said, they came out, you didn't realize that's what was under the surface. So let's get into some of the juicy part, the exercises. So this book, each chapter is designed to start out with stories and analogies that help to illustrate her main points. And then at the end, last 1 minute or two, if you're listening to the audible version, is an exercise. And what I'm going to say is do the exercises. If you are like me and you're just reading it the first time through and then you have to go back and read it again, I mean, the first read was great, but you're missing, I would say, 80% of the value if you don't do the exercises. So you really can't give a review to this book unless you do each exercise at the end of each chapter. With that, one of the exercises is to talk about your memories of money. And my first recollection of what money was, or that there was even an importance to money, was very visual. I'm a visual learner, and when I see things firsthand, face to face, that leaves a lasting impression with me. And so from ages 4 to 10, I lived in the same house. And that's where I think of my kid years. And my best friend lived in an apartment with her mother. Her mom was a single mom at the time. And I would say every time she came over to my house, and then before she moved away, around age 8, I saw where she lived, because she would tell me, "Oh, your house is so nice. Your house is so big." And to me, I didn't know. It was just a house. It was just where I happened to lay my head and where I ate with my family. I didn't think about it. And then when I saw that she lived in an apartment, and I thought, oh, this is different. And then I thought, well, why is it different? And I talked to my mom about it, and she talked about money, and that my best friend was her mother was single and was also a university student. I believe she was getting her PhD at the time. And I thought, wow, that's different. I would rather live in a big house than a small apartment is what I thought. And I mean, big, I didn't think of it as big until I saw what a one-room apartment looked like. And then I thought, oh, well, we have a pool in the backyard. I guess that's also nice. And we have a basement to play around in. That's also nice. So I'm starting to think, oh, I get these things because my parents have more money. Okay. So that was my first memory of money. The second exercise that really stood out to me were the lessons that your parents tell you about money. And I don't say this to bash my parents by any means. What I'm saying is we have these generational stories that
You better
we
not.
right. Of course. Yeah. We have these generational stories that we tell, each other, and we pass those down to our children. And I recognize that my parents fully did the best with the information and the data that they had. My parents were born in the 40s. And so Depression time, the First World War, was all left a lasting impression with them. And my parents followed the formula of, well, serving for the war, and then my father at least, at the Vietnam War at the time, and then going to university, getting an advanced degree, which both my parents did, and then working in a job where you're serving others. And that's what both my parents did. My father worked in academia and my mother worked in the medical field. So they're there to serve others, and they believed in going to work Monday through Friday. Because they worked in a university setting, they often had summers off, but that formula worked for my parents. They were happy following that formula and felt secure because they had a roof over their heads, they could provide for their two kids, and they could retire in their late 60s, which is what they did. And now they live a very comfortable retired life because of the formula they followed. I, however, felt that formula didn't work for me. And that's why I didn't stay working for corporate America forever and went to venture off into doing my own thing, working for different people, and finding that I really enjoy working for myself. So some of the lessons that they taught me was, I was probably around 7, and I read the book Money Doesn't Grow on Trees. That's a book that my mom handed to me. And the lesson that I took away from that is money is not infinite, and you have to plan, you have to save, and it takes meticulous thinking and strategizing. So I think there are some great lessons there, and long-term thinking that is definitely applicable. So I had this exercise where I think maybe around age 10, I was making $10. I can't remember, it was a month or each week. But I just remember that one envelope, which was 10%, that was my like free money. So I could spend it on clothes, I could spend it on candy. And it was only like 10% of that $10. So I felt like it took forever. And I got cash to put into each of these envelopes. One was long-term savings, one was short-term. So short-term were things like, I might need a new notebook for school, something like that. Long-term savings, something I can put in the bank for 5-10 years down the road. Charity, and free money. And then those were the buckets. And I took my cash, my $1 bills, and I would sort them by percentages. And then the last lesson that my parents taught me was work for others so you can have security, job security. Yeah. And then my third lesson, which I will share, is that I thought, okay, what does it really mean to be rich? What is a display of wealth that for me means that I'm wealthy? And Ramit Sethi also talks about that in his philosophy, his podcast, and his popular Netflix show. So to me, having a personal library with books that you are freely giving away to others without expecting them to return the book, that is ultimate wealth to me, or one of the designs of ultimate wealth. Because my grandmother, my mom's mom, worked in a bookstore, and she had the privilege of passing down to us her hardcover books. So my grandmother was a faithful Oprah follower. So any book that was on the Oprah's Oprah's pick list, she would buy at the bookstore where she worked, and then she would hand it to my mother, and then occasionally I would read these books. But because of that, we had amassed a pretty big collection. But it wasn't because we bought them, though. And we didn't freely give them away without expecting people to return them, because we only have the one copy. But I still felt very lucky to have books in my life. And I just get so much joy being able to share books with others, which is why we have this book club in the first place. And that is a display of wealth in a way that I can't wait to make more money, to have that gift that I can also share with others. So those were some of my, I'd say, top 3 exercises. I will pause there because, Monica, I know you have some juicy exercises that you did and some beliefs that you uncovered yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you that one really has to do the exercise. Great to listen to others' stories and you can learn from that, but you really learn by doing. And when you're doing all of these different lists, you start to ask yourself, why am I thinking like this? Or where is it coming from? Because it takes a bit of time to list 10 things that, like, why do you want to be rich? Or what are you grateful for? Or, how's your relationship with money when you're a child? And by the way, I love the fact that you think of abundance and being rich about giving books to people. That's truly a great way of seeing it. But yeah, as I mentioned before, I think just trying to figure out where my blind spots have been, or like kind of limiting beliefs, because I never thought, oh yeah, I'm really good with money. I have everything I need, and more even. But yeah, I've kind of hit a plateau. So I thought, okay, there must be something that's holding me back. And while I was starting to think about it, it was such a crazy discovery. But I realized I'm a little bit scared to get really rich, because I'm scared of getting robbed or burgled. Yeah. So that's what,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's such a weird hesitation or a weird reason. Surely that shouldn't stop you from trying. But I think maybe I'm obviously not intentionally stopping myself from that. But yeah, I noticed that's been a fear of mine. And obviously now I'm just trying, not ignore it, but now I'm trying to rationalize myself with, that's just such a ridiculous thing to hold yourself back with. And also you can have a lot of security and you can be careful about certain things. So not to put yourself in dangerous situations, right? So that was a big eye opener for me and a big surprise, because I never thought I would have such a belief, but I did. And some of my other limiting beliefs is also from maybe childhood, or just, how money's been pictured in Sweden or just in our modern society. A lot of people say, money is the root of all evil, or it's very hard to make money. And I've had kind of periods in my life where I've been, able to make quite a lot of money, and then some periods where I haven't been. And I think it actually correlates with how I've been feeling about money. But that money is the root of evil is really a silly concept. And I also think that your analogy with a car is good, because it's not the car that's bad. It's who's driving it. So it depends on what you do with your money. Plenty of people do amazing things with money and help people. And you can be one of those. It's your choice and it's my choice. And, it depends on how are you without money? Are you a negative person? Are you a positive person? Maybe the money will amplify this, but I would like to think that I'm pretty great, so I can handle it. A little bit I think I had a conversation with my dad, and he basically also said like, "Oh, it's quite hard to make money." And I remember I had a summer job, like trying to. It was kind of like a waitress kind of job, and I remember thinking like, "Wow, my dad is really right. This was so hard." And I think, "Screw this! I don't want to do this job." So I then kind of try to figure out what kind of job I should be doing in the future to have a high income salary. So I started to think about different things that I could do, and this is funny because I ended up doing a bit of all of them that I wanted to do growing up. So I wanted to be like a movie star. I wanted to be a stockbroker. There was so many different things. And like when I look back at it, all of those things have kind of happened in a way or another. So it's funny. But I'm also lucky because I had a very positive mom that had maybe she doesn't even know she's been doing law of attraction. Maybe she doesn't call it that, but she certainly has. She's an immigrant from Poland to Sweden, and at that time it was communist. So you're really coming with nothing. And she managed to get a really good job. And she traveled a lot. She was always very proud of her job and like made sure that everybody knew about it. But I think it did help me to see a powerful woman make it and be not apologetic about it. And I think for my dad, something must have happened in his life because he also, like, when I was a kid, he had a blue collar job. He was a bit like, humble. He was still humble later in life, but he had some sort of transformation because at the end of his life, he got into stocks and made quite a bit of money. So going from this kind of mindset where, it's hard to make money, I'm happy something must have happened to him where he also changed. Maybe he got inspired by my mom, who knows. I also wanted to say, I think how you speak to yourself about money is really important because this is also something Jen talks about is that, who's listening to how you talk. It's basically yourself. So you should really be careful about what language you use and also listen to what your friends, how they speak about money. And maybe that can highlight something that you're doing as well. I realize that some of my friends maybe use language that, isn't that great actually. So I still love my friends, but I maybe tend to hang out with more positive people. It was also an eye-opener, to think about how do I talk about money or just how do I talk to myself, not only about money, but about other things as well. So I think I had this really big awakening about self-talk when I was doing yoga already like a few years ago. So I have learned that in the past, but this highlighted it again. So I'm definitely more using vocabulary such as abundance, freedom, and pampering, yummy, and limitless when I talk about money. And that was also one of the exercises that I really enjoyed using. I'm starting to use these kind of big, positive, life-changing words. This wasn't in an exercise, but in general, I did like how she was talking about how you can change your mindset with looking at nature and that Mother Nature is abundant and we're part of it. So we also should be abundant and be limitless because it's our birthright, basically, to thrive. And that money just means freedom and options. And this is a way that, you can kind of change your mindset. What I also loved about these exercises was that you were making these long lists. And one of my favorite was that you had to say, like, why do you love money? And basically, she says, shout it out loud. I love money because it's freedom. I love money because I can do all of these amazing things. I love money because, I can travel more comfortably. I can buy a house and I can spend more time with my family. I can invest in the Anyas and I can create more art. So it enables me to be more of me. And why shouldn't I have an abundant, amazing life? And that is perfectly fine to desire. And that desire doesn't have to be something bad. It doesn't have to be something materialistic, right? Like you desire a bag, or I don't know what, even if you do desire a bag, if it's coming from something that's going to help you or just make you feel better, it's just the fact that you shouldn't get obsessed about it, some materialistic thing, but just things that enable you to have a fulfilled life, whatever matters to you. And of course, I always like grateful lists, and she's all about being grateful. And this is one of the reasons how you can kind of raise your vibration and raise your mindset, because after you make a grateful list, you instantly feel better. If you've never made one, after this podcast, just try to put down 3 words or 3 things that you're grateful for. And I'm so grateful for money because it allows me to experience freedom, and it provides me with everything I need. It enables me to eat delicious food and also to take care of my cats, and opportunities to travel. So I'm very excited to travel more. I'm looking forward to my trip to Italy this year. And yeah, I'm going to eat some delicious pasta.
Yeah, I resonate with what you say about money being an amplifier, because I think about when people win the lottery. I was watching that show yesterday with David Bonstead and these homeowners, and I think, well, I don't know that they would all say this money has been life-changing for them, but it has amplified who they are. It has amplified and enabled them to make decisions of freedom, and it enhances it, or it can enhance their life if that is something that they focus on. And uh, on the flip side, there are coaches, I think Jen talks about this in her book, who work with people that are highly successful, and the successful being that they've made a lot of money in their careers, but also highly unhappy with where they are in life. So that they make the point that if you are highly unhappy before money, chances are good that you're going to be highly unhappy with money, because that's what you're focusing on, and money just amplifies that rather than fixing every problem that you've ever had.
I agree, because it's like it just enables you to do more of whatever you're doing. So if you're sitting down at home and, feeling sorry for yourself, and, having some kind of, I don't know, scarce mindsets or even greed, that is going to amplify. That's also one thing that I realized reading the book, is that it comes from the same mindset as lack. That was a big realization for me, that greed is also a lack of things, because you're scared, you have a fear mindset, and you want to like hold on to things, and that can maybe spiral into falling down, because people do make money and then they lose it all, especially people that win the lottery. And it's basically having a healthy mindset. So not getting greedy, but give. You have to take care of yourself first, obviously, but then also be able to give to other people.
If that's what you're called to do, I think that one of the myths that I held on to about money was, if I make money, I'm taking it from others, so I am greedy. Because you were using the word greed, and it's interesting to think about what is greed? What does that mean to people? Where does it come from? And so that was a myth I was telling. If I am greedy, that means I'm taking money or making a lot of money, and therefore other people aren't allowed to make a lot of money. But really, the truth is, if I make money, I can then help more people to also make money. So that is something that I thought a lot about on deeper levels, which is what this book,
Mm.
not just the concept of that, which you can grasp in a couple seconds, but how that has showed up for me in my life. And I guess drawing to the end here on our final takeaways. And before I go into that, I want to talk about, money dreams, and what are your own dreams, and what it means to you to be wealthy. We talked a little bit about the library, which we both want, and to share books with others. And well, you're simmering on that. I'll just share a few things that I thought about from Jen's book. One is how she talks about upgrading your life incrementally. And that doesn't necessarily mean going out and getting a Birkin bag when you've made $1 million. Not something like that. I mean, maybe for some that means a lot and really symbolizes something, but it's more about incremental changes that resonate with you. So that could mean something like buying better underwear. That is an example that's in the book. If it's something that you see, something that you touch every day, something that is important to you. I mean, you wear underwear every day, so why not make it something that you love? And, that could just be a few dollars of an upgrade. That doesn't have to be something ridiculous. With a ridiculous price tag and what others might consider a luxury item. It can be the small luxuries in life, and that really resonated with me. And something that I thought about as a small upgrade is upgrading my tableware. Is that what you'd call it? Your dishes. So I've moved several times throughout my life. And at one time I had these amazing dishes from Crate and Barrel, which I loved. I don't know where they went in my multiple moves, but they're no longer with me. And I currently eat off IKEA plates. And it's been that way for a few years. And I thought, I would really love to go to the local porcelain factory here and just get some everyday dishes. It's not something that is crazy expensive, but it was something that I could really cherish and really love, and something that I touch every day that would be a significant and a symbolic upgrade for me. So that is part of money dream for me: security, and finally working for myself. And I think ultimately that really means wealth to me, is to have that type of freedom, because I feel alive when I work for myself, and I know how much energy I get from that, and I just can't wait to do more work. Whereas when the mission statement behind other places I've worked is work to make other people rich. Literally, that's the mission statement. It didn't wake me up, or I didn't jump out of bed thinking about that mission statement. And, now I do. And I think that is ultimate wealth. So what about, so now that you've had some time to tinker, I'll turn it back to you, Monica, on some of your money dreams and what you thought about being, what wealth means to you.
Yeah. For me, I have one big goal, and it's to get a beautiful house with a big garden. That's like what I'm focused on, and that means wealth to me. Because I mainly only lived in apartments my whole life. Nice apartments, very nice apartments, but just having a garden, your own house where, you can plant and do whatever you want with it. You don't have any neighbors. I think that's ultimate wealth for me. So that's my focus in life. And I believe this can happen. We're heading into a bull market. There's plenty of opportunities around. And I think also just being open to knowing that it's possible. Again, you have to believe it yourself, because otherwise it's just not going to happen. So that's my dream. It's going to be real.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to hit on some takeaways. So some takeaways from this book, and everyone listening, if you haven't read it already, this is what I got out of it, and hopefully you will too when you read it. So number one, this is not by any means a get rich quick manual. Maybe it will be quick for some, but just because it took, let's say, someone a year doesn't mean that it's going to take, Sarah or Jennifer a year. This could be 6 months for some. This could be 5 years for another person. So let's just, take a step back. And when you read this,
6 months.
everyone's on it. You're one of the 6
Please.
months. Okay, Monica, got it.
I'm checking for the 6 months.
Its formula will take different iterations for each individual. So I want to preface that, and that is my takeaway that I got from a book, but that there's so many different layers to the mindset. And when I read the book, there were some themes that really resonated with me, and there were some that I thought, okay, I might think about that later, I might not. And if you have any type of discomfort with money, make sure that you figure out why and learn how to be comfortable with that discomfort, like you said earlier, and then it will start to flow to you. I will say it again, do the exercises, otherwise you're missing out on 80% of the value in the book. Get your money's worth, be grateful, get your money's worth. Why else would you start reading the book unless you really wanted 100%? It's like when you go to the gym. Really do the work at the gym. Don't just sit there on your phone the whole time, or else, why did you come to the gym? Do the work and you'll start to see the results then. And last is take responsibility for your own realities. And that means the language that you use. That means the people that you surround yourself with, and the actions that you take. So there is someone that I previously worked with did their thesis around beliefs, behaviors, results. All of those are circular. What you think gets you certain, puts certain behaviors and then certain results, and then that continues to flow. So take responsibility for that. Example, if you hate your job, realize that you chose it. Okay. It is a job. You're getting paid to be there, and no one is forcing you to be there. If someone is forcing you, then that's illegal. Okay. And you should go to law enforcement about that. So otherwise, you chose it, and you can choose another job. You can do something else. And I'll take the Damon John example. He didn't necessarily hate his job. He worked at Red Lobster, but he saw something else for himself other than working at Red Lobster. He worked at Red Lobster for many years, but he had this vision of creating this clothing line, which we now know as FUBU. And he did that, and he worked on that for years while he was working at Red Lobster. And he took responsibility for his reality, and his reality was he wanted to pay rent every month. But he also knew that there was something beyond Red Lobster for him. So that is my last takeaway that I'll share. I know that you have some great takeaways, Monica. Tell us more.
What you're saying, that desire or knowing that there's something more for you than just a 9 to 5, that's not being greedy. That's basically just you living your best life, and you basically owe it to yourself to make more money so you can live the life you want to live. And I think just a healthy desire of trying to create something, if it's art or if it's a company or if it's a book, writing a book, it's not being selfish. It's basically you owe it to the world. So do it. And another thing that I really took away from it was about pricing. that if you undervalue your products or services, when you do get paid, you feel kind of like somebody hands you a dirty napkin. And if you're also maybe pricing it too high, you can feel like a little bit sneaky. But if you're pricing it right, you feel amazing. And I think maybe sometimes I've been pricing my services a little too low because I feel like, oh, bad about it, or like I don't want to take too much money from people. But I'm starting to realize, well, you're not getting money for your product really, or your service. You are, but what I mean is you're getting an exchange of value. So how much value are you giving? And I give a lot of value. So then I should be fine with also receiving a lot of value from people, because it's worth a lot. So I think that was also something that a big lesson that I learned in this book, and an eye opener that I feel really good about now, because I've started to realize I give a lot. So yeah, but also anticipating the discomfort of certain things, and just allowing yourself maybe to go through some emotions, not like pushing them down, but being okay with, you just got to throw yourself out there and take a few risks. And I'm willing to do that.
I liked the analogy that Jen used on the soggy napkin. And I think it's so funny, but it also shows her writing style throughout the book and keeps you entertained and laughing at some of her analogies that are lighthearted, but around really serious topics.
I've not read a lot of books twice, but this is one that I really could read like 2-3 times, because I feel like I would get more and more from it, because I read it already a few weeks ago. So I went back just yesterday, looked through some of my notes, and I picked up so much more just in this like second session with it. So definitely this is something that I can come back to. And I've also already recommended it to so many people. So yeah, if you can't tell, we're very excited about this one.
I hope everyone joins us for our next book. It is entitled The Wild Woman's Way by Michaela Boehm. And Monica, you were first called to this. Do you want to just maybe say a snippet, or are we saving that and building some suspense for our readers?
No, I can just say a little bit. It really stood out to me because it talks about being a successful woman, but also having like a successful relationship with your family, with your spouse. And yeah, you can kind of lose your balance sometimes when you're really focused on a career and, being in that very masculine energy. So I wanted to learn how to lean into my feminine power, but still, be successful and not just sit home and, do some kind of, I don't know, chore work or whatever. So yeah, this was my main reason to maybe pick up some insights that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I hope everyone checks that out, and we will be covering that in our next book club. Until next time, thank you everyone so much for joining Monica and I.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Like and subscribe to never miss an episode. We've got some fantastic content lined up. Leave us a comment and review to help us grow.
Last but not least, let's connect on social. Follow us on X, the Anyas_IO, and the Anyas.io on Instagram and TikTok for exclusive content. Thanks again for being part of the journey, and see you in the next episode.